DHS Secretary Kristi Noem is moving over to SHIELD. It is a lateral. However, listen, it's pretty clear there were some issues there.
All right, check it out. Ex-Trump official Dan Bonino, who served as the deputy FBI director under Kash Patel for about a year before crawling back to his podcast, where it's much easier to criticize endlessly than actually operate with an affirmative vision. I say that as somebody with a podcast who is always criticizing and is working every single day to make sure I'm also building an affirmative vision so that when we regain power, we can implement this plan rather than being Dan Bongino, who is weak and not meant to be a leader. Subscribe to the Mockler Media channel, subscribe to Adam Mockler and drop a like, and let's break down exactly what this ex-Trump official Dan Bongino said about Kristi Noem, because about 24 hours ago, she was fired by Donald Trump for multiple reasons, mainly due to this ad that she took out for over $220 million. This is a flowchart that exposes exactly how Kristi Noem, at the top, and Corey Lewandowski, Kristi Noem's chief advisor, and allegedly she's having an affair with him. This is how they conned the American taxpayers out of $220 million. The breaking news yesterday was that Kristi Noem was fired, and then MS Now reported today that Corey Lewandowski is also out at the DHS. Adam Parkamenko asks, is Corey Lewandowski going to have to start effing Markwayne Mullin now? Because Markwayne Mullin's a new secretary, and the secretary F's the aide. It's a funny joke, but the reality is Kristi Noem and her entire regime, her boyfriend, her husband, they're all gone. And now we have Markwayne Mullin coming in about 25 days. Kristi Noem has 25 days left in her tenure. Throughout those 25 days, she will further be investigated and we'll know more and more about the $200 million that she stole from us. Meghan McCain says, I can't tell you how angry I am that the American taxpayer paid $200 million for Kristi Noem to cosplay as a law enforcement OnlyFans grandma in a series of pointless commercials with money that could have gone to our teachers, veterans, law enforcement, or homeless. Now Donald Trump is turning Kristi Noem into a celebrity, starting a war with Iran that costs $1 billion a day, and tanking the stock market while gas prices surge, unemployment rises even more. Going back to this flow chart, I just want to quickly break this down before we go to the Dan Bongino segment, because this is very, very important. What this shows is that Kristi Noem, as Trump's DHS secretary, rewired $220 million in taxpayer money and gave it to herself and companies that were dealing with Corey Lewandowski. So Trump's DHS secretary at the top, I'm pointing at the screen, but if you look at where my cursor is, she approved a contract to two different companies, two separate LLCs. On the right, you have $77 million going to People Who Think, LLC. On the left, you have $143 million going to Safe America Media, LLC. These two LLCs are very important. Safe America Media and People Who Think. This is where it gets very suspicious. Safe America Media, LLC, which got $143 million, is registered to a private home of someone named Michael McElwain. Then the wild part is, this Michael McElwain also runs a company called Designated Market Media, which shares an office address with Strategic Media Services, which is a firm that's been placing all of the ads we've been seeing for Corey Lewandowski and Kristi Noem. And both Strategic Media Services that you see on screen and People Who Think LLC have all worked with Corey Lewandowski, along with Smart Media Group LLC that have worked with Corey Lewandowski. To continue, Noem has approved another $77 million in People Who Think LLC, and it has worked with Corey Lewandowski. So to summarize this flowchart, Kristi Noem has approved $220 total million in contracts, and the money has been flowing through a bunch of shell LLCs that all result in the same person being in their orbit, Corey Lewandowski. It is a flowchart that perfectly illustrates what's happening. And let's go to the mouth of the beast. Let's go to former Deputy FBI Director Dan Bongino. Take a listen and drop a like.
Post, DHS Secretary Kristi Noem is moving over to SHIELD. It is a lateral. However, listen, it's pretty clear there were some issues there. A couple points on this. I saw a lot of folks on Twitter this morning asking me for my perspective, being that I was, inside the administration at that principal deputy level. First, results have to matter. I've told you this over and over for the, 10 years I've been on the air. I'm a transactional guy. I care about results and numbers. I don't care about opinions. I don't care about personalities. I don't care. I think over the course of history, this is all looked back upon with kind of non-rose-colored or dark-colored glasses, I think people are going to say that was one of the most successful years they've ever had over at DHS. There was a lot that had to happen. ICE, CBP, Secret Service, TSA. DHS is huge. Folks, DHS has, multiple times a factor of agents than we had at the FBI. But between ERO, removal operations, the border being shut down, some transformations that happened within Secret Service, within ICE, within CBP. I'll tell you a quick story to my experience with Kristi Noem. When we wanted to get rid of FBI headquarters, I don't want to bore you with a long story. Guys, this story sucks, just tell me. But the FBI headquarters political football has been going on for 40 years. Move the FBI, don't move the FBI, move the FBI. The building's freaking collapsing. The Hoover building we worked in is collapsing. It's disgusting. There's literally concrete falling from the garage on people's cars. So what they have to do is wall off sections of the garage so there's no parking down there because the concrete's falling. Because for, 20, 30 years we're going to move it to Virginia, Maryland. They wanted like an $8 billion headquarters, whatever it is. Cash and I were like, we're not doing any of that shit. We're going down the road to the Reagan building that already exists. We're going to save the taxpayers billions of dollars. It just made sense. That deal is now done. The move's already begun. We did it in like 6 months or so. We had a problem, though. Kristi Noem's DHS had an office in there, CBP office, and it was a bit of a football. And we said, guys, we need to just make this smooth, the transition, and she did it pretty quick. So I think our results over time are going to be good. Second, as I said before, you serve at the pleasure of the president, folks. It's his cabinet. If he feels like something's become a distraction to him, and clearly he didn't like how the hearing went, then he's going to move on. I don't think it means necessarily that you saw in his put up the True Social post. It's not like he's sitting there saying, terrible job and all that stuff. He just wanted to move on.
To contradict what Dan Bongino's saying, it was a pretty nasty breakup, it seems. Fox News yesterday was reporting straight from the White House some pretty nasty stuff about Kristi Noem. Listen to this clip.
I saw this news. I called an administration source to ask what was going on, and they told me that they were going to send me some spicy reaction. And what I am about to read is both spicy and not subtle. The text reads as follows. It was time. Replacing Kristi was based on the culmination of her many unfortunate leadership mishaps, including the fallout in Minnesota, the $200 million ad campaign, the allegations of infidelity, the mismanagement of her staff, and her constant feuding with the heads of other agencies, including CBP and ICE. Kristi's drama sadly overshadowed and distracted from the administration's extremely popular immigration agenda, which will continue full force. And so, it sounds like the only thing that was really saving her job was that the border remained pretty much closed.
Absolutely brutal showing for Kristi Noem, and remember, she was allocated to some other service that was entirely made up. I find this hilarious. So Trump's post right here, that we're just going to get from Dan Bongino's show, Trump's post right here yesterday said, the current Secretary, Kristi Noem, will be moving to Special Envoy for the Shield of the Americas. Sounds made up, right? Yeah, the Special Envoy for the Shield of the Americas is a new security initiative in the Western Hemisphere that they're announcing on Saturday in Florida. They'll probably never really announce it. It'll probably be some ill-defined role where Kristi Noem is sent off into the shadows. And you know what? I'm okay with that for now. I don't want her as a head of anything. Now we have to deal with Mark Wayne Mullen, and once we get back into power, we will hold all of them accountable with oversight committees, investigations, and the likes. If you appreciate that message, drop a like, subscribe. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.